Hello, my friends. If you were in my Geo group today, we would be sitting at this back table practicing reading and pointing to the words in this story. So I would love for you guys to point and follow along with me as we read the Wright Brothers. Before you open up this book, I would like you to make any connections you can to our field trip that we went on to Carillon Park, where we got to see the Wright Brothers' actual airplane that they flew, and we got to see their bike shop. So take a moment to think about some of those connections and some of those things that you remember from traveling to Carillon Park. The Wright Brothers by Mamie Goodson, illustrated by Giuliano Ferri. Here we go. The Wright Brothers. We have Orville and Wilbur Wright. In the past, people just traveled by land or by sea. But two brothers dreamed of crafting a machine that could fly. The W stands for Wilbur, the O stands for Orville. Wilbur, see how the birds soar in the wind, Orville? Orville says, who says we can't do that, Wilbur? Sounds like they believe in themselves. The two men learned as much as they could about flying. They read about gliders that got power from the wind. With bent wings, gliders could lift. They could soar, but they were hard to steer in the wind. Notice the illustration. What do you notice that they are doing? Orville, first we must craft a glider too. Wilbur, but we must come up with a plan to steer it in the wind. For help, they looked to the birds. I wonder why they would look at birds to figure out how to fly an airplane. Orville, see this? By tilting one wing up and one wing down, the birds can steer. Wilbur, we can twist our glider's wings. Then we can steer too. I love how they're working together to solve this problem. The two men drafted plans. As a test, they crafted a small glider. They flew it like a kite.
Okay, we need Goofy Gary, Out of Control Ollie, and Angry Annie.
Sorry for that brief interruption. Here we go. I'm going to start over on page number 8. The two men drafted plans. As a test, they crafted a small glider. They flew it like a kite. A tug on the strings sent it soaring this way or that. But could they steer it from inside the glider up in the sky? Orville, we must have a spot with lots of wind. It must have soft sand for landing. Wilbur, I have just the spot. Think in your brain, where do you think they might take this airplane or this glider to test it out? It has to be a place with lots of wind, and it has to have soft sand for landing. Think about some of those stories where we've talked about where we can find the windiest places, where the water and the land touch. Where do you think they're going to go? Let's find out. They set out for the sand dunes of Kitty Hawk. There, they tested a big glider over and over in the blowing wind. With each crash, they mended it. They sent it back up. Now, Wilbur was all set. Orville, all set to fly? Wilbur, yes. They mended the airplane here, and now it's ready to go. What do you think mended means? This is one of the vocabulary words we've taken a look at before. He went soaring over hills of sand, tilting the wings up and down like a bird. It was just a quick trip, lasting seconds. But with each trip up, they learned more about soaring on the wind. Wilbur, now we can steer from the air. We must fix the rest. Orville. The wings must get more lift. Let's run some tests. In 1903, they would put on a motor. Then they would soar over the land, by the sea, in the very first airplane. Take a look and notice what the people in the crowd are doing. They're cheering. Why do you think that they are cheering? Think about that. Let's go ahead and read the more section. Follow along with me. On December 14th, 1903, the Wright brothers tossed a coin. The winner would be the first to fly in their motorized airplane. After years of experimenting, the brothers were ready to test their new plane design in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Wilbur won the toss, but unfortunately, he oversteered the plane and crashed into a dune. The brothers spent several days repairing the plane. So if you thought the word mending meant repairing or fixing, you were right. On a cold and blustery morning, 3 days later, it was Orville's turn. He kept the plane in the air for 12 seconds and traveled 120 feet. He became the first person to fly a powered airplane successfully. Later in the day, Wilbur flew for 59 seconds and traveled 852 feet. Then, a strong gust of wind rolled the plane over. The damage to the plane ended the brothers' flying season for the year, but they still had made history. And if you take a look at that illustration, if you look at that picture down at the bottom, it's not an illustration. That is a real picture from when the Wright brothers flew their airplane at Kitty Hawk for the very first time. How fascinating. It sounds like the Wright brothers really had a plan and they had a dream and they believed in themselves and never gave up. So your challenge today is to think in your brain, what is a dream that you have? And what is the plan you have in order to make that dream come true? So your challenge today is to come up with a dream and create a plan in order to allow your dream to come true. Maybe you could write me 3 different steps that you are going to follow in order to allow your dream to come true. Go ahead and write it in your Foundations journal and send me a picture or let me know when you have completed that challenge. Great job, you guys, and I look forward to reading with you again tomorrow. Bye.